Hi, enjoy listening. The plane touched down in Austin just after dusk, and Monica Taylor exhaled a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. She pressed her manicured fingers against the cool window and stared at the glowing city lights below. A fresh start began. At 34, Monica had perfected the art of reinvention. A few years in Atlanta had left her with high-end tastes, a fading modeling portfolio, and a growing urgency to secure the lifestyle she believed she deserved. But the city had gotten too small, her reputation too tangled. The men were either married, broke, or tired of games. It was time for a new playing field. Her cousin, Travis Holt, lived in Austin and had a way of knowing everyone without ever trying too hard. He had offered her the guest room in his 2-bedroom apartment off South Congress with a shrug and a "just don't make it weird." She assured him she wouldn't. Monica's plan was simple. Ease into the city's social circles. Find a man with means, preferably one not too old, not too drunk, and not too married, and close the deal. She didn't need love. She needed security. The house party at Travis's friend's place was nothing special. Mostly tech guys, a few PR girls, and the usual craft cocktails with ironic names. Monica made the rounds, letting people see her without seeming like she wanted to be seen. Then she spotted him. He was standing alone on the back patio, nursing a glass of something that wasn't beer. Tall, serious, not smiling. Definitely not the usual loudmouth startup bro. His clothes were plain, grey button-down, jeans, but they fit too well to be cheap. Monica leaned into Travis at the bar. "Who's the guy by the back door?" Travis followed her gaze and smirked. "You really don't waste time, huh? Just tell me." "That's Derek Langston, son of Walter Langston. You know, Langston Timber. Big money. But Derek's got his own thing. Launched some AR software for logistics. Quiet type. Doesn't usually show up to stuff like this. No clue why he came tonight." "Girlfriend?" "None that I've heard of. Rumor is he's single and allergic to drama. Why?" Monica smiled and slipped off her stool. "Just curious." She approached with the ease of someone who'd done it 1,000 times before. He didn't notice her at first, too focused on the city skyline. "Not your scene either, huh?" she said. He turned, blinking as if pulled from deep thought. "Sorry, what?" "I said it doesn't look like you're having fun. I'm Monica, by the way." "Derek." They shook hands. His grip was warm but cautious. "I'm new to Austin," she said, "and a little overwhelmed. This party isn't helping." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, it's loud and the drinks are overpriced. Not exactly a great welcome." "You want to ditch?" He looked at her for a beat, as if weighing something important. Then, to her surprise, he nodded. "Why not?" They ended up walking along the river. The air was cool but not cold, and the city lights shimmered on the water like little promises. Derek talked more than she expected, about the city's architecture, its history, the projects he was working on. Monica listened, genuinely fascinated, not by the details, but by how much he cared about them. She didn't need to talk much, just a few thoughtful nods, a well-placed laugh, and a soft, "Tell me more," now and then. When they stopped near a quiet bend in the trail, Monica looked out over the water and sighed. "It's beautiful." He followed her gaze. "Yeah, it is. You know what would make it perfect?" she said, tilting her head slightly. "What?" "A bottle of red wine and a violinist playing something romantic right over there." She pointed to a little wooden overlook. He laughed, caught off guard. "A violinist? Why not? I'm dramatic." "I'll keep that in mind." That night, Monica lay in Travis's guest bed, staring at the ceiling. Derek wasn't like the others. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He wasn't drunk, or bragging, or checking his phone. He was just solid, real. This one might take work, she thought, but he's worth it. She rolled onto her side and smiled in the dark. Derek Langston texted her the next morning. "If you're not tired of city tours yet, I've got more to show you." 7 p.m. Monica waited exactly 22 minutes before replying. "Only if there's coffee or wine involved." He sent back a winking emoji. She laughed. It was always best to let them chase, at least a little. He picked her up in a black Audi SUV that smelled faintly of cedar and new leather. His playlist was a curious mix: Yo-Yo Ma, Bon Iver, and 90s indie bands she'd never heard of. Not a top 40 song in sight. He wasn't flashy, not in the usual way. Everything about him, his car, his clothes, his manner, was expensive but restrained. There was no gold watch, no brash stories of college frat parties, no name-dropping. They drove out to Mount Bonnell, a spot locals rarely visited twice. But the view of the Colorado River at sunset was breathtaking. A small table had been set up near the overlook. A white tablecloth, candles in hurricane jars, and 2 wine glasses. "Oh my God," Monica breathed. "Is this for me?" He looked pleased, but a little embarrassed. "Well, you said wine and a violinist." That's when she heard the slow, aching sound of strings. Down below the trail, standing just out of sight of passing hikers, was a man playing the violin. Something soft and mournful drifted up through the trees. "Okay," she said, blinking. "That's ridiculous and perfect." Derek poured the wine. "I figured 2 out of 2 wasn't bad." They clinked glasses. The sunset bled orange and rose over the river. They didn't kiss that night. Monica made sure of it. She laughed, touched his arm, leaned in just close enough. But when he walked her to her door and looked at her like he might, she stepped back and said, "I'm not in a rush." He blinked, surprised, maybe even impressed. "Neither am I." Perfect. 3 weeks later, he was fully wrapped around her finger. Not blindly, but attentively. He listened to her. He remembered little things she'd said offhand. When she mentioned she missed the lavender soap she used in Atlanta, it appeared in his guest bathroom. When she joked about how she hadn't had Thai food since the week she arrived, he booked a table at a place 2 suburbs over, known only to locals. Derek wasn't falling in love like a man with stars in his eyes. He was falling like a man who didn't fall often. Slowly, with quiet certainty. And Monica? She played the role well. She cooked sometimes, just enough to look domestic. She listened when he talked about business. She never nagged, never pushed. She became the calm to his storm, the soft thing he came home to. It wasn't fake, at least not entirely. She liked him, maybe even more than she'd planned to, but she never forgot the goal. At dinner one night, he reached for her hand across the table. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you here," he said quietly. She tilted her head. "What kind of someone?" He smiled. "The kind who makes me want more than just work." Monica squeezed his hand. "Then maybe you were due for a surprise." One evening in early spring, he brought her to a small family estate in the hills. Langston property, generations old. His mother, Judith, was hosting a small dinner. There would be 4 guests, max. Judith Langston was tall, willowy, with tightly controlled silver hair and eyes that saw everything. Monica arrived in a simple navy dress, understated jewelry, and heels just sensible enough to say, "I know the difference between elegance and excess." "You've lived quite a few places," Judith noted as they drank white wine on the porch. "Atlanta before here." "Yes," Monica said, smiling. "And before that, Nashville for a bit. Were you working there?" "I was figuring things out." I see." Monica held her gaze. "I've figured them out now." Judith smiled thinly, then turned to call for more wine. Derek didn't notice, or if he did, he chose to ignore it. After dinner, he drove Monica home and told her how proud he was. "She's hard to impress," he admitted, "but she'll come around." Monica smiled in the dark, looking out the window. She didn't need Judith to come around. She just needed Derek to keep believing. 6 weeks later, he proposed. It was quiet. Just the 2 of them. A candlelit dinner at his house. He didn't get down on one knee. He just reached into his jacket, placed a velvet box on the table, and said, "I can't imagine doing any of this without you." Monica's heart fluttered, just for a second. Then she smiled, lifted the lid, and saw a diamond as simple and clear as everything Derek believed her to be. "Yes," she whispered. "Of course, yes." The wedding was held in mid-October, when the Texas air still carried warmth, but the days started to shorten just enough to feel intimate. Derek had wanted something small. Monica wanted something unforgettable. They compromised on what she called intentional elegance. A lakefront ceremony at a private estate outside Fredericksburg, soft jazz playing under string lights, Custom cocktails with their initials etched into the glasses. Nothing garish, nothing cheap. Just precise. Perfect. The Langstons, old money to the bone, showed up in tailored linen and neutral tones. Judith Langston wore an expression of measured tolerance. Monica wore a Vera Wang gown that cost more than her first car, and she knew it was worth every dime. Everyone told Derek he looked radiant, but it was Monica who truly sparkled. The makeup was airbrushed, the smile rehearsed. She floated down the aisle like she'd been born for this moment. In a way, she had been. The only crack came at the courthouse. They'd done the legal part the day before the ceremony, in a private signing with the officiant, Derek's lawyer, and a courthouse notary. Monica had handed over her driver's license, and that's when it happened. The notary blinked at the screen. "You were born in '89. Monica froze for a split second, then smiled. Guilty. Derek looked at her, frowning slightly. "Wait, you're 35? She laughed, light and casual. "Didn't I mention that? I guess I forgot. I thought you were 29. Monica tilted her head. "Is that a problem?" No, it's not," he said quickly, glancing at the notary. "I just thought, never mind." He signed the documents. She signed hers. No further questions. But Judith raised one eyebrow the next day when the wedding announcement in the Statesman listed Monica's full age. Their honeymoon was short. Derek had to get back to work, and Monica didn't mind. They spent 5 days in Santa Fe, art galleries, hiking, a spa retreat Monica hated but smiled through. On the final night, while wrapped in a hotel robe and sipping wine, Derek gently brought up the idea of kids. "I know it's soon," he said, "but we're not getting younger. If you want them, we should at least talk about it." Monica curled her legs under her and kissed his shoulder. "Let's just enjoy being married for a while. There's time." Derek smiled, but a shadow passed over his face. The months that followed were smooth. Domestic life came easily to Monica. She filled their home with warm lighting, cozy dinners, tasteful furnishings. She knew when to be present and when to disappear into a bubble bath with a glass of Pinot. She never nagged, never complained. She was, in every sense, the wife Derek thought he'd married. She even stopped seeing other men, at least for a while. It wasn't just for safety. She didn't feel the need. Derek provided everything. But when, a year into the marriage, he brought up children again, Monica felt the pressure tighten around her ribs. At 36, she'd been off birth control for months, just in case it came up. It didn't, though she faked trying. Finally, she got pregnant. She didn't want to be, but the pregnancy was real, and so was the miscarriage. The bleeding started early, painful, heavy. She knew almost instantly it was over. Derek rushed home from a business trip, held her hand through the hospital visit, and never left her side for 2 straight days. Monica, exhausted and sore, cried and screamed and blamed the doctors. Then she turned the grief inward, I'm broken, she sobbed on the bathroom floor. You should leave me. You don't deserve this. Derek knelt beside her and took her face in his hands. Monica, I'm not going anywhere. She leaned into him, but even as she cried, her mind was spinning. Weeks passed. She sank into a soft fog, a comfortable performance of depression. She turned down social invites, slept late, avoided eye contact with Judith during their monthly dinners. Derek bought her gifts, handbags, spa packages, diamond earrings. She let him. She was almost convinced he'd stop bringing it up. Until one night, about a year after the miscarriage, he sat across from her at the kitchen table and said gently, I want to adopt. She stared at him. What? I've been thinking about it. For a while, actually. There are so many kids out there who need homes. I know it's not the same, but... It's not the same, she said, too quickly. Derek, it's not even close. I know, but maybe that's okay. Maybe it's even better. We can help someone. We can still be a family. She swallowed hard. Her hands were cold. I don't know how to raise a child. I don't know how to be a mother. You'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. She nodded slowly. She needed time to think, to stall. Can we talk about it in a few days? Derek smiled. Of course. But his tone said, this isn't going away. And he wasn't the only one involved now. His mother was asking questions. His lawyer was asking about estate planning. His board members were sending congratulations in advance. The walls were closing in. Monica understood then that she was no longer in control. Derek wanted a child. He would get one, with or without her full enthusiasm. And so she began preparing, not to be a mother, but to survive whatever came next. The adoption agency Derek chose was private, reputable, and selective. He did all the legwork, paperwork, background checks, interviews. Monica attended the meetings with perfect posture and a warm smile. She had answers for everything. Her love of children, her flexible lifestyle, her commitment to creating a stable home. Inside, she felt none of it. But she'd learned long ago that sincerity was optional. Presentation was everything. They were shown several case files. Siblings, infants, toddlers. But it was the photo of a girl named Alice that stopped Derek mid-sentence. 6 years old, quiet, good health, no behavioural concerns. In foster care since infancy, currently living with a temporary family in San Antonio. Her dark eyes looked straight into the camera. Not afraid, not sad, just watching. I like her, Derek said. Monica studied the picture. The girl didn't look needy. She didn't look like she'd cling. She's cute, Monica offered. And quiet's good. They arranged a weekend visit. Alice was more reserved than Monica expected. She didn't ask questions, didn't demand attention. She sat still on the couch while Derek tried to make her laugh with silly animal voices. When Monica offered her juice, she whispered, "Thank you," and sipped slowly. "She's manageable," Monica told Derek in the car later. "And smart. She's not clingy." "She's perfect," Derek said, his eyes still lit up. "I think we should move forward." 2 weeks later, Alice moved in. The guest room became her room. Soft pink walls. A twin bed with a starry duvet. And a shelf full of new books. Derek bought her a closet full of clothes. Monica hired a full-time nanny named Ruth, who had a background in child development and a quiet, patient demeanor Monica found comforting. "I just want to make sure she gets the right start," she told Derek. "I've never done this before. What if I mess something up?" He kissed her forehead. "You won't." Alice adjusted fast. Too fast, maybe. She followed directions, answered questions politely, did what she was told. She didn't cry at night. She didn't throw tantrums. She colored quietly in the living room, or sat with Ruth while watching educational cartoons. She liked apples, hated mashed potatoes, and slept with the same stuffed elephant every night. Derek was obsessed. He took her everywhere. Bookstores, science museums, swimming lessons. He enrolled her in art class, dance, music. Monica teased him about being a helicopter parent. "She's been through enough," he'd say. "Let her have everything." Monica stayed mostly hands-off. Alice didn't seem to mind. She called Monica Monica, never Mum, but always said it with respect. In a way, the whole arrangement felt oddly transactional, like they'd adopted a very polite, very low-maintenance tenant. And that suited Monica just fine. One evening in early March, Ruth took the day off. Derek was working late. Monica was home alone, finishing a glass of wine and texting someone she shouldn't be texting, when Alice's small voice came from the hallway. "Monica?" Monica flinched, clicked her screen off, and looked up. "What is it?" Alice stood in her favourite blue dress, sniffling. "I spilled juice on my clothes. I didn't mean to." She lifted the edge of her skirt, showing the dark stain. Her cheeks were red. Her chin trembled. Monica sighed. "You don't have to cry over it. Go take it off. We'll wash it." "I can't get the back zipper," Alice said quietly. "It's stuck." Monica stood, brushing crumbs off her lap. "Come here." Alice turned around and Monica knelt to unzip the dress. That's when she saw it. A dark mark on Alice's upper back, just below the shoulder blades. Not a bruise, not a shadow, a birthmark. It was large, almost the width of her hand, and curved like a crescent moon. Monica froze. Her fingers hovered above it, trembling. No, it couldn't be. She hadn't seen a mark like that in years. She hadn't even thought about it. She buried it. But she had the same mark, the same shape, the same place. The mark only two other people had ever seen: an old boyfriend and the nurse who handed her a baby she refused to hold. Her vision tunneled. The room spun. Her mouth went dry. Alice turned slightly. "Is it stuck?" Monica swallowed. "No, I've got it. Go take your bath." Alice walked toward the bathroom, dragging her feet slightly. Monica stood there, heart racing, unable to breathe. That mark wasn't just similar, it was identical. 5 minutes later, Monica was in her car. Alice, hair damp, dressed in pajamas, sat in the back seat, clutching her stuffed elephant. "Where are we going?" she asked sleepily. "Somewhere important," Monica said tightly. "Just be quiet, okay?" She drove like a woman on fire, through red lights, swerving past traffic, ignoring every call from Derek's phone. She stopped once at an ATM, emptied her account. She didn't know what she would say, but she knew she had to make it stop, had to make her disappear again. The front gate of the adoption center was locked for the night, but the lights inside were still on. Monica pounded on the glass until a receptionist opened the door. "We're closed." "I need to speak with the director. Now. It's an emergency." "You can call during—" "I said now." A few minutes later, the director, a calm woman in a sweater and pearls, stepped into the waiting area. "Mrs. Langston." "I need to return her." The director frowned. "I'm sorry?" "I don't care what you do. Say her biological parents showed up. Say there was a mistake. Just take her back. Tonight." The director's face hardened. "That's not how this works." Monica pulled a thick envelope from her purse, slapped it on the table. "There's $10,000. Make it work." Before the director could answer, the front door opened behind them. Monica turned. Derek stood there, pale and furious, holding Alice's hand. He looked at the money on the table, then at Monica. "You really thought I wouldn't find out?" he said quietly. Monica didn't speak. Not at first. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Derek stood in the doorway, unmoving, his hand still loosely holding Alice's. She blinked sleepily up at him, confused. The envelope of money sat between them like a live grenade. The director, sensing something electric and dangerous in the air, quietly stepped out of the room. Derek closed the door behind him. "Say something," he said finally. His voice was low, tight. "Anything." Monica reached for composure, but found only the hollow weight of panic. "It's not what you think." Derek barked out a laugh, short and bitter. "Really? Because it looks a hell of a lot like you tried to abandon our daughter." "She's not our daughter." He flinched. "She's not mine," Monica said again, voice trembling now. I didn't know." Derek looked down at Alice. "Sweetheart, why don't you wait in the hallway for a second?" Alice nodded slowly and stepped out. Monica noticed she took the elephant with her. When the door shut, Derek turned back to her. "You didn't know what?" Monica sank into the nearest chair, Her knees felt like glass. "I didn't know it was her." Derek didn't move. "Who is she?" Monica pressed her palms to her temples. "She's mine. My child. My biological child." Silence. "I had her when I was 29. I gave her up. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to be a mother. I didn't even hold her. I signed the papers and left the hospital the same night." Derek's face hardened. "You lied to me. I didn't think she'd ever show up again. She was gone. I gave her up legally. I never even knew her name." His voice was sharp now. "And when you found out, when you saw that mark on her back?" "I panicked," she said, "too fast. I wasn't ready to face it. I couldn't handle the thought of her living in my house, looking at me like I'm someone I'm not." "You are someone you're not," he shot back. "You lied about your age. You lied about wanting kids. You lied about your past. What else don't I know?" Monica's eyes filled with tears. "Derek, I didn't plan any of this. I didn't go looking for her. It was random." He stared at her. "Do you believe in random?" She blinked. "That girl ended up in your house, in your care, out of every child in the state. The odds of that are astronomical." She said nothing. "You weren't supposed to raise her," he said. "And now maybe you're being asked to, by something bigger than your shallow, curated little life." Monica stood suddenly, furious. "Don't talk to me about destiny. You don't know what it was like. I was alone. I was scared. And I made a decision that I've lived with every single day since." "Have you?" Derek asked, cold now, because it seems like you shoved that decision into a closet and moved on with your perfect wine glasses and monogrammed towels. She stepped toward him. "I'm not a monster. You offered someone $10,000 to erase a child." Monica's breath caught. "Tell me, Monica," he continued, his voice flat. "Was that the plan all along? Play the grieving wife, let me do all the work, then hand her off the second she felt inconvenient?" Her hands curled into fists. "You don't get to stand there and judge me like you're perfect." "I'm not perfect," he said, "but I never abandoned a child." The words hit like a slap. Monica took a step back. The room buzzed with fluorescent silence. Eventually, Derek spoke again. "I'm taking her home." Monica didn't stop him. "She'll stay in her room. Her school routine won't change. Ruth will stay on." He reached for the envelope, then pushed it slowly across the table toward her. "And you can decide what happens next. But know this. If you ever try to walk away from her again, I will fight for full custody. I will burn every cent I have to protect her." He opened the door. Alice was waiting, rubbing one eye. "Come on, sweetheart," he said, gently taking her hand. "Let's go home." The door closed behind them. Monica sat there long after they left. Eventually, the director returned. "Mrs. Langston?" "I'm not Mrs. Langston," she said quietly. "Not really." The woman hesitated, then said, "You should go." Monica nodded. She took the envelope, walked out into the warm Texas night, sat in her car for nearly an hour without starting the engine. Somewhere deep inside, a dam had cracked, and water was rushing in. For 2 weeks, Monica didn't return home. She checked into a boutique hotel downtown under her maiden name, told Ruth she was traveling for work, told Derek nothing at all. She left behind everything: her curated wardrobe, her skin serums lined in gold trays, the breakfast nook with the hand-stitched cushions. She lived on room service and bad wine and reruns of old crime dramas with the volume barely audible. She didn't cry, not at first. She just stared at the ceiling, night after night, wondering how the neat scaffolding of her life had collapsed with such silent force. Ruth texted photos of Alice doing puzzles, drawing giraffes, eating waffles in her Minnie Mouse pajamas. Derek said nothing. No angry calls, no threats, no apologies. It was almost worse than yelling. It meant he was serious. She tried to go back to her normal routines: Pilates classes, manicures, brunch. But everything tasted like cardboard. The conversations felt like sand in her teeth. Her friends gossiped and laughed and clicked their glasses, and she smiled back, a woman-shaped echo. One afternoon, she caught her reflection in a store window. Same clothes, same hair, same smudged eyeliner. But it didn't look like her anymore. Her mother called, of course. "I saw a charge on the credit card from a hotel," her mother said briskly. "Are you and Derek fighting again?" "No." "Are you seeing someone else?" Monica didn't answer. Her mother sighed, disappointed but unsurprised. "You always do this, Monica. You implode. You run. You think damage control is the same thing as remorse. I'm not asking for advice." "No," her mother said. "You never do." Click. Monica didn't even flinch. It was a Thursday when the dreams started. Not nightmares, just vivid, slow-moving memories. The maternity ward, the smell of antiseptic, the tightness in her abdomen from hours of labor, the look on the nurse's face when she asked, twice, if Monica was sure she didn't want to hold the baby. And always the same last image. A nurse walking away, carrying a bundle, with dark curls, and a blanket marked "Property of St. David's Medical." Gone. Then she'd wake up gasping, her hand clutched to her chest, the dream dissolving like dust in her mouth. By the end of the second week, she returned home. It was a Sunday. Sunny, quiet, normal. She didn't announce herself, just walked through the front door and stood in the foyer. She could hear music coming from the backyard. When she stepped outside, she saw them. Derek was kneeling in the garden, planting herbs. Alice sat cross-legged beside him, hands muddy, wearing old shorts and one of Derek's t-shirts knotted at the waist. They were laughing. She watched for a long time without speaking. Eventually, Alice saw her. Her face didn't light up, didn't fall, just stilled. "Hi," the girl said cautiously. Hi, Monica said. Derek didn't rise. He wiped his hands on his jeans. Ruth's off today. I know. A pause. Monica walked slowly to them. Her heels sank into the dirt. I want to talk, she said. Derek stood. We've talked. No, she said. You talked. I ran. He crossed his arms. Monica looked at Alice. Can we have a minute, honey? Alice stood. Quietly walked back toward the house. I made a mistake, Monica said, once they were alone. Derek said nothing. I didn't know how to handle it, seeing her, and realizing she was mine. It felt like some twisted joke, like the universe had waited until I was comfortable to remind me who I used to be. You still are, he said. You're just pretending you're not. She nodded. You're right. Another silence. I was a coward, she said. I saw her and thought, what if she sees what I gave up? What if she remembers? She was a newborn. I know, but I remember. I remember everything I left behind, everything I didn't face. I thought I could bury it under nice furniture and charity events. Turns out it's still rotting under the floorboards. Derek looked at her. His expression softened, but only slightly. What do you want, Monica? I don't know, she said honestly. But I think I want a chance to get to know her. She's not a project. I know. She's not a punishment. I know. She's a person, a little person, with feelings, and you can't just decide when you feel like showing up. I'm here now. For how long? I don't know, she said again, but I want to try. Later that evening, Monica knocked gently on Alice's bedroom door. Come in, came the soft reply. Alice was sitting on the floor, arranging dolls by height. Monica sat down across from her, legs stiff, unsure. I had a dream about you last night, Monica said. Alice looked up. You were a baby. The first time I saw you, you were wrapped in a white blanket and had a tiny fist under your chin. Alice blinked. Was I crying? No, Monica whispered. You were watching me, just like now. They sat in silence. Then Alice said, Do you want to play? Monica nodded. Sure. She picked up a doll. It was missing a shoe. Neither of them noticed. Autumn settled into Austin with the kind of soft, gold-washed grace Monica used to associate with luxury catalogues, cashmere sweaters, orchard trips, expensive coffee. But now, the change in season felt heavier, like a slow inhale before something inevitable. She was trying. That mattered, didn't it? She had come home. She cooked. Poorly, but earnestly. She walked Alice to school when Ruth was off. She showed up to family counselling. She smiled through homework, through spilled juice, through Derek's watchful silence. She was trying to be someone different than she'd been. But no one changes without cost. And the past is never as buried as you want it to be. It started with a phone call. She was folding Alice's pajamas, watching her daughter through the cracked bedroom door. Alice was painting with watercolors, humming under her breath when her cell rang. Unknown number. She stepped into the hallway to answer. Hello? Monica. The voice was familiar, slow, slightly amused. Male. She froze. Who is this? You don't recognize me? A pause. David. David Cross. Her stomach clenched. The name hit like a slap. She hadn't seen him in 6 years. Not since she was living in Atlanta. Not since the photos. Not since the near scandal. What do you want? She asked, voice low and sharp. David chuckled. Heard you married money. Real money this time. I'm hanging up. No, you're not. Because I know something you wouldn't want your pretty husband to find out. She leaned against the wall, heart pounding. There are pictures, Monica, he said. Emails, old ones. You remember what you used to send me, what we used to talk about. That was a lifetime ago, was it? Because your name still gets clicks. People love a redemption story, or a fake one. She squeezed her eyes shut. What do you want? She asked again. 10,000 by Friday, or I forward it all to Langston's board. Let them decide what's appropriate for a wife of a man who makes smart, clean tech. She nearly dropped the phone. You don't scare me, she said, though her voice betrayed her. David's voice was silk now. You should be scared, Monica. You worked real hard to reinvent yourself. It'd be a shame if someone dug up the old version. Click. She didn't sleep that night. She sat in the kitchen, knees to chest, watching the coffee maker blink like a tiny heartbeat. Her mind played loops of things she had pushed into the dark. The private messages, the photos she took during a desperate, sugar-laced stretch of time when rent was overdue and charm was the only currency she had left. She had erased it all, deleted it, blocked him, moved to Texas with new hair and new manners and new lies. But lies, she was learning, never really go away. She met with David in the parking lot of a closed bar off Burnett Road. She wore sunglasses and a scarf, absurd in the Austin heat. He looked older, puffier. His shirt clung in the wrong places, but his smirk hadn't aged a day. He leaned against her car like they were old friends. Thought you'd send a wire, he said, but I admire the personal touch. She handed him the envelope. That's all you'll ever get. He opened it, counting. Nice to know some things never change. Delete everything. Swear to me. He grinned. Sure, Monica. She turned to leave. I saw the kid, he added, casually. Cute. Yours? She stopped cold. He chuckled. Man, what a mess you've made. One day that little girl's gonna ask who her real mom is. Wonder what you'll tell her. She didn't reply. That night, she told Derek everything. She stood in their kitchen, too clean, too still, and laid out the whole ugly, desperate timeline. The photos, the sugar baby arrangement, the man who wouldn't let it die. Derek didn't interrupt. He didn't look away. When she finished, she waited, braced. He poured himself a drink, took a long sip, then said, "Do you want me to handle it?" Monica blinked. "What? You want me to make him disappear? Quietly, legally?" She stared. "I know people," Derek said simply. "People who do this sort of cleanup." The silence stretched. Finally, she shook her head. "No, I don't want this hidden anymore." "Then what do you want?" She met his eyes. "I want to be done pretending. If this burns everything down, so be it. But at least it'll be honest fire." He looked at her for a long time. Then, quietly, "Okay, later." She sat on the edge of Alice's bed and watched her sleep. Tiny fingers curled, brow smooth, breathing even. There had been a time Monica couldn't imagine mothering, couldn't imagine folding pajamas, or wiping tears, or staying up all night waiting for fevers to break. Now, she couldn't imagine not doing it. "I wasn't a good person," she whispered. "But I'm trying, baby. I swear I'm trying." Alice stirred, eyes fluttering briefly. Monica reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her daughter's ear. She didn't know what the next week would bring, but for once, she wasn't running. 2 days after her confession, Monica stood in front of the boardroom at Langston Technologies. She wore black, not for drama, but for armor. No makeup, no gloss, no mask. Across the long table sat 8 board members, most of whom had known her only as Derek Langston's elegant, charming wife. The woman who hosted fundraisers and looked good in photographs. None of them knew what it had taken to become her. None had cared. But now they would. Derek sat beside her. He hadn't said much all morning, but when she'd hesitated outside the office, he'd squeezed her hand and whispered, "You do this your way." So she did. "I'm here," she began, "because someone tried to blackmail me with pieces of my past." She saw a few eyebrows rise. "I'm not going to let him. And I'm not going to hide anymore. Because I'm tired of living a life that only works if no one knows the truth." A few of the older men exchanged skeptical glances, but one woman leaned forward, chin on her hand, curious. "I made mistakes, big ones. I took money for attention. I posed for photos I regret. I lied. And I buried it all under the clean image I built with Derek." She swallowed. "And I thought I could keep burying things. But it turns out, the truth has a way of rotting the floorboards if you don't pull them up yourself." A long, aching silence. Then Derek stood. "I support my wife. Fully. There's no breach of conduct here. No law broken. Just shame. And if we punish people for shame, we'll never get honesty from anyone." He nodded once, then sat again. No one clapped. It wasn't that kind of room. But no one asked Monica to leave. Outside, the light hit her differently. Sharper, but cleaner. She exhaled as if she hadn't in years. That evening, Ruth pulled her aside. "I saw the story online," Ruth said gently. "The one about the photos, the articles." Monica felt the ground ripple under her. "I didn't think it would go public that fast." Ruth just nodded. "It's not my place to say much." But Alice is going to hear about it one day. From kids. From people who like pain. Monica lowered her eyes. So you better decide now what story she hears from you first. The next day, Monica took Alice for ice cream. They sat on a bench outside the shop, their cones dripping in the heat. I want to tell you something, Monica said, watching a bee circle her cup. Alice swung her feet. Okay. When I was younger, I made some choices I'm not proud of. I was lonely, poor. I let someone treat me badly, and I pretended it was normal. Alice frowned. Like how? It's hard to explain, Monica said carefully. But I let people see parts of me I should have protected. Not because I was bad, but because I didn't think I was worth more. Alice looked down at her chocolate cone. I used to do that when I was at the other house. Pretend I didn't care when I really did. Monica blinked. You never asked about them, Alice added. The people who were mean. I didn't know how, Monica whispered, and I was scared I'd see myself in them. Alice licked her cone thoughtfully. You're not like them. How do you know? Because you always look at me when I talk, Alice said. They didn't. Monica couldn't speak for a long moment. She reached over and wiped a smudge of chocolate from Alice's lip. I want to be someone you can trust, she said. Not just now, always. Alice nodded. Okay. And for the first time, Monica believed she might actually mean it. That night, Ruth came into the kitchen while Monica was drying dishes. She told me, Ruth said, folding a towel, that you talked to her. I didn't know if I said it right, Monica admitted. You didn't need to, Ruth replied. You were honest. That's more than most kids get. Monica paused. Do you think I can do this? Be good at it? Ruth gave her a long look. Motherhood's not a test, she said. It's a commitment. You don't pass it. You show up for it. She reached out and squeezed Monica's arm. You're here. That counts for something. At bedtime, Monica stood outside Alice's room for a long time before going in. The girl was curled beneath a patchwork quilt Ruth had sewn. Her eyes were already closed, but Monica sat on the edge of the bed anyway. Hey, she whispered. I know you're asleep, but thank you for letting me try. For letting me learn you, for not giving up. She brushed a hand over Alice's hair. I don't have all the answers, but I know this. Being your mum, it's the bravest thing I've ever done. She didn't wait for a reply. She just stayed quietly, listening to her daughter breathe. The house was still. It was early, before the street noise, before Alice's small footsteps, before the world began asking things of her again. Monica stood by the window, cradling a mug of black coffee, watching the sun cut orange across the skyline. It had been 6 months since she told the truth. 6 months since she handed over the version of herself she'd tried for years to bury. And though the fallout had not destroyed her, it had not spared her either. Some of Derek's business associates had pulled back. The news cycle had run hungry for a week, dredging up screenshots and speculations. A few mums at Alice's school stopped waving at drop-off. One anonymous email called her filth. But the house still stood. Derek still came home at night. And Alice still reached for her hand in the dark. There were bruises, but no break. Sometimes that was all survival meant. Derek returned from a trip to Boston in late spring. Monica met him at the airport in jeans and a soft white blouse. Hair pulled back simply, no lipstick. She wasn't dressing to impress anymore. She was dressing to feel like herself. He smiled when he saw her. "Everything go okay?" she asked as they walked to the car. "Yeah, meetings were fine. But I couldn't stop thinking about coming back." She laughed. "You always say that." He looked at her then, eyes quieter than usual. "I always mean it." They drove home mostly in silence, the kind that didn't require filling. Derek held her hand across the console, fingers laced. At a red light, he said, "You've changed." She turned toward him. "In a good way?" "In a real way." Then added, almost shyly, "I'm proud of you." Her chest tightened. "I still have bad days." "Of course you do. So do I." He paused. "But you don't hide them anymore." That weekend, they took Alice to the Wildflower Center. She wore a straw hat too big for her head and spent an hour chasing butterflies between bursts of giggles. Monica watched from a shaded bench, legs crossed, heart full in a way she hadn't thought possible. Derek sat beside her, arm resting casually behind her shoulders. "She's thriving," he said, as Alice danced toward a patch of sunflowers. "She is," Monica agreed. "She's teaching me how." He smiled at her. "You know she still calls you Mama to the school staff?" "I know. And she asked me last week if we'd ever get married again." "Like, for real?" Monica looked at him, caught off guard. "What did you say?" "I told her we're already something better than married." He paused. "We're rebuilding." Monica didn't wear a white dress when they renewed their vows. It was just the three of them, in the backyard. No minister, no flowers, just promises, spoken simply in the late afternoon sun, while Alice picked daisies and handed them out like sacred gifts. Derek read his from a folded sheet of paper. Monica didn't need one. She spoke from memory, from muscle. "I've lied in my life," she said. "I've used people. I've run from pain and built false walls. But this life, this family, this us, is the first thing I've ever fought for with my whole self. And I promise to keep showing up, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days." When she finished, Derek kissed her forehead. Alice clapped. "Now we have cake, right?" They laughed, and Monica swept her daughter into a hug. That night, after Alice was asleep, Monica sat in bed with an old photo album she hadn't opened in years. The pages were warped, the photos uneven. But there she was, younger, rawer, smiling too hard, hiding too much. She ran her fingers over one image in particular. Her, at 22, perched on the edge of a hotel balcony, a sunset behind her, and eyes that looked somewhere else entirely. "I forgive you," she whispered to the girl in the photo. "I understand now. You were doing the best you could, with what you had. And you made it out. We made it out. She closed the album, turned off the light, and slept without dreaming. Epilogue. One spring afternoon, Monica sat in the living room, helping Alice glue pieces of coloured paper into a collage. "What's this one?" Monica asked, pointing to a jagged purple shape. "That's the scary part," Alice said, not looking up. "But I put yellow next to it because it gets better." Monica nodded, throat thick. "Yeah," she said softly. "It really does." She glanced at the window, where the wind was tugging at the curtains, like a child asking to be noticed. And for the first time in a very long time, Monica didn't feel like anything was unraveling. She felt stitched together, whole, home. If you like the story, I would be very happy to have your support. Click the thumbs up. And to not miss new stories, subscribe and click on the bell. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and all the best.